Hello everyone, JH Medium here. It's a new day and a new country for me. Today we are in Tallinn, Estonia. To continue our trip in the Baltics, we're in the capital of Estonia and its very picturesque old town, Vanalin. On this trip, we're taking a journey through Tallinn's history, traveling from the medieval ages all the way to its more contemporary past. Right now we're at Viru Gate, which is probably one of the most well-known gates of the Tallinn Old Town. It was built in the 13th century and it leads to the main roads of the city. Today really is the perfect weather and temperature to have a stroll through the old town. It's just a little bit unfortunate we weren't able to book a walking tour on our first day here, but I guess it's also okay to just get lost on your own on the first day. From the 26 remaining towers to one of the oldest town hall buildings in Northern Europe, to the defensive city walls that you can still climb up on, Vanalin is known to be one of the best preserved medieval towns in Europe. We've now made it to the main part of the old town, the town hall square.
以前的时候呢，人们也都是像现在一样来这里吃饭、交易、聚会，就是一个各种城市生活发生的一个地方。
Tallinn was really lucky because unlike many other cities in Europe, only around 10% got bombed during World War II. So a lot of its medieval historical buildings, such as that town hall behind me, is completely preserved. Compared to the Riga Old Town that we visited a few days ago, Tallinn seems to be more lively with significantly more tourists. I'm guessing it's because of its proximity to Helsinki, so many people take day trips here. But even though it's bustling with energy, at least in the beginning of spring, it doesn't feel overly crowded. So it is still nice to walk around without feeling overwhelmed. Before we go explore some more, time for a quick snack break. It actually kind of surprised me how expensive Tallinn Old Town is. Compared to Riga Old Town, it's probably 50% more expensive. We're not that hungry, we just want a quick bite. In the end, we found this crepe shop. Apparently, it's also highly recommended by many locals.
其实跟我在法国那边布列塔尼地区盛产 crepe 的一个地方还蛮不一样的。它看起来非常的厚实，它有分咸口跟甜口的。这个是咸的，里面是三文鱼和 cheese。
Wow, the salmon filling is quite generous. And I think it's actually cooked salmon, not smoked salmon. While it looks like a crepe, I'd say it's just a savory pancake. Really delicious.
有请下一位选手。
Our sweet crepe has arrived. We got a cherry crepe with coconut milk as the sauce. I don't know why it's sitting inside. Looks like a puddle of coconut milk. I mean, that just makes the whole thing really soggy. I think they could have omitted that. But either way, the flavor is what counts. Let's try it. I think the coconut taste is a lot more prominent than the cherry taste. It looks like the cherries are scattered around inside this crepe. Not every bite will have a cherry inside, but once you have a bite with the cherry inside, the cherry and coconut flavor have a perfect combination. When we ordered this, I didn't think it would be enough of a meal, but wow, that was super filling. Even while filming and eating, it took us quite a while to finish these two pancakes. Okay, now let's go explore more of Tallinn's Old Town. Now it's time to have Asian people's favorite drink again. Bubble tea has really taken over Europe. I remember when I lived in Prague and Oslo back in 2017, the thing I missed the most was definitely bubble tea, but it's impossible to find it anywhere in Europe. Now you can find bubble tea pretty much everywhere, so that makes every Asian person super happy.
什么时候欧洲人对奶茶的接受程度这么高了？ 又到了我最喜欢的中世纪部分了。我以前有小小的当过一段时间一个中世纪城堡的导游啊，这个故事说来话长。其实很好的判断中世纪时期的建筑，因为它们都是有这种石头跟土混在一起建成的，然后稍微表面会比较粗糙一点。这个部分的城墙呢，一部分呢就是用于守卫作用，就用来投石啊或者射箭啊，就是抵抗敌人部分；另一部分呢就是连接着塔楼，是一个瞭望塔的作用。
We're gonna see if we can go up.
继续往上走。
This tower is really steep and tight. It's quite hard to climb.
有敌人攻击进来，如果你在一个狭窄的楼梯通道，而且你又是处在上方的话，一般是会更具有优势的。可以看到城墙上面开的这些口，都是为了当时士兵射箭。后面有了火器之后，他们就会开始在这里打枪。随着投石机的发明啊，火炮的发明，他们这些攻击的武器的威力更大了，城墙起到的守护作用其实就非常有限了。包括城市本身，它也不断的在扩展。我们会看到很多房子都建在这个城墙的周围，甚至穿过了这个城墙，渐渐的城墙就失去了它的作用。在历史上看到那个包围着整个塔林古城的城墙，也只剩下很少的一小部分了。
Unfortunately, we went up a little bit too late, so we only had 30 minutes to explore. It closes at 5 p.m. each day, and it costs €4 to go up. Right beside the Helleman Tower is one of the most beautiful streets in the Old Town, the St. Catherine's Passage, which was built over 700 years ago. This narrow passage really has that medieval charm. Now as the sun is going down, this is a perfect time to hike up the hill and watch the sunset. Up on Tompaya Hill, the most iconic landmark is definitely the Alexander Nevsky Cathedral. It's an Eastern Orthodox cathedral built when Estonia was still part of the Russian Empire in 1900. We're not allowed to film inside, but we can still appreciate this beautiful building from the outside. There are two major viewpoints to watch the sunset over Tallinn Old Town. We're at the Pakuli viewpoint, and I think this is the better angle. It's really stunning. Unfortunately, the sunset tonight wasn't as grand as we had hoped, but it's still nice that the city has these viewing platforms to overlook the old town. I think coming here at any time of day, the view would still be great. You can also visit the Kotoatsa viewpoint to get a better view of all the orange tile roofs, as well as a bird's eye view of the city streets. Speaking of birds, there seems to be always some seagulls flying around or resting at this viewpoint. As the sky gets darker, Tompaya Hill starts to light up. By now, most of the other tourists had gone home already. The old town is now quiet and tranquil again. This might be my favorite time to walk around Tallinn. The weather in Tallinn completely sucks today compared to the bright sunny day yesterday. So we gotta find some indoor activities to do. Today we're at the Balti-Jaama Turg, which is like a half outdoors, half indoors market right next to the train station. It looks like there's a lot of small restaurant stalls on this outdoor portion. We didn't eat lunch yet, so we're gonna try and find something to eat. We couldn't find any Estonian food, so I guess we're gonna have this instead. It's an Uzbek restaurant. I never had this before. Let's try. Uzbekistan is once again a country I've never been to, but I really want to go to. So I guess we'll try its food before eventually going there someday. We got a cheburik, which is like a pancake, and there's spinach and cheese filled on the inside, and a lagman, which is a beef soup. Let's try the food. Cheburik is actually a famous dish from Crimea, but very popular throughout Central Asia, Eastern Europe, and also the Baltics. Even though it's deep fried, it doesn't feel too oily. The spinach and cheese filling is a great combo. Honestly, this is such a universal dish. I feel like I've had something similar before, but yeah, very delicious. I don't think the sour cream will add too much to this dish because there's already a lot of cheese inside, so the sour cream probably just makes it even richer. Now to try the lagman noodle soup. First I'm gonna try the broth. Super tomatoey. I think the most dominant flavor inside here is a star anise. It might not be a flavor for everyone, but I love it. Other than the tomatoes and beef, there's also onions, daikon, and some red peppers inside.
能吃汤面好幸福啊。
This dish, highly recommend.
这个市场它不只是卖蔬菜水果，那一片呢就有很多的小吃摊，楼上还有卖服装跟手工艺品的，所以有点像一个大商场。
I thought this market was getting a little bit boring, and then we found this antique area. There's so many old antiques here, most of them probably from the Soviet era. There's one shop in there with a stack of old film cameras. I've never seen that many cameras in one place at the same time before. It's like a camera paradise for a photographer like me. I think even without buying anything, these antique shops are like mini history museums.
我觉得像这样的市场真的很有意思，就感觉像坐在一个时光机一样，你能看到人们以前喜欢的东西，他们的生活状态和他们所珍视的一些东西，还挺有意思的。
There's a lot of these old letters here. Some of them actually have words on it. I wonder why these letters were never sent, or why they're now here in an antique shop rather than where they belong. And I think now it's about time to call it a day. But we have one more short stop. Just before we go back to our hotel to escape this dreadful weather, as a Christopher Nolan fan, there's one last place I have to check out. See if you recognize this. This is actually the place where he shot the opening scene for his movie Tenet. It really looks nothing like the movies. There's graffiti everywhere. I think this is a Soviet era building built back in the 80s. And now it's completely abandoned, not in use anymore. Pretty insane. Today is our last day here in Tallinn, and we're finally gonna go on the city walk tour. Apparently this will not be a regular history lesson city walk. It's gonna explore more of the medieval ages of this city that used to be called Revel. This tour is called Tales of Revel. It's marketed as a free walking tour, which basically just means there's no set price. And you can donate what you wish to the guide based off how much you enjoyed the experience. Here are some of the most interesting things I learned on this tour, starting with one of Tallinn's old names, Revel. Apparently one day the king was going hunting for a deer and chased the deer over to a cliff edge. And the deer had the choice of jumping over the cliff or surrendering to the king and becoming his dinner.
Are you going to be slaughtered by the hand of a nobleman, or to take a leap of faith and claim your own freedom? Freedom! Go ahead, and the deer jump!
So the deer took a leap of faith and jumped over the cliff edge. The king was so impressed by that, so he decided to name the city after what he just witnessed. Revel actually means fallen deer. While the modern name Tallinn means Danish castle, after the castle they built here up on Tompai Hill. In the past, the two towns of Tompeia up on the hills where the nobles lived and Revel down below where all the merchants lived were actually separated from each other. And this was the original medieval gate connecting the two towns.
Without spoiling too much, the rest of the tour was filled with many jokes.
When you use your imagination who created the sound, you will have to imagine that basically an army of children created the sound. So not only the society is changing, not only the nature around is changing, but even how people look has changed a lot as well.
There were many inspirational stories.
True freedom. And I know it will sound like a cliche, but it's not. True freedom is only then possible when we start loving each other like true brothers and sisters.
And then of course the age-old debate between Latvia and Estonia about who decorated the first Christmas tree.
We chip in money, we order glass lanterns, we put beeswax candles in there and we light them up. And those lit up lanterns we would put on top of this evergreen tree to make it look as if it was on fire. And my dear guests, pay attention now. In the year 1441, this is the first time a Christmas tree gets publicly decorated.
This tour is definitely not your typical city walk tour. The guide didn't cover times like World War II or the Soviet era. It was completely focused on the medieval ages here. He used a lot of storytelling techniques, performances, and really engaged the audience throughout the tour.
In the end, I think Tales of Revel is a must-do tour on a trip to Tallinn. A big thank you to our amazing guide, Cedric. During our final afternoon in Tallinn, we wandered around the old town and bought some souvenirs.
We just got these two postcards with some interesting facts about Estonia. So this says, "Are you Estonian?" Apparently Estonians walk a lot, worship potatoes of any kind, don't believe in God unless it's Eurovision, and have zero emotions whatsoever. I guess when I'm out here traveling, I do walk a lot and very fast. And when I'm not traveling, I pretty much have zero emotions. So in those two aspects, I guess I'm quite Estonian. On this very short trip to Tallinn, we actually came to this viewpoint 3 times already, but that view behind me just doesn't get old. I can look at it all day.
塔林跟里加给我的感觉还真的挺不一样的。塔林给我感觉就是一个更加古典的，保留了更多中世纪遗迹的城市。
This whole trip to the Baltics, even though it was a region I've been wanting to come to for a long time, it still completely surprised me.
I really didn't expect to love this region of Europe so much. The only slight shame is that we didn't get to try authentic Estonian food. The restaurants recommended to me were either completely booked out or had hours of wait, and this isn't even peak season yet. But even without a food tour, the storybook-like town streets, stunning medieval architecture, and the genuinely intriguing history made this trip to Tallinn very memorable. Unfortunately, we weren't able to complete our Baltics tour since we had to cancel our Vilnius plans. But this just means I have to come back to this region again, hopefully in the summer next time.
If you have the chance, I highly recommend visiting the Baltics region, Riga and Tallinn. You will not be disappointed. JH Medium here, and see you guys next time. Bye-bye.